Skype, you shared what your book was about. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And again, the name of the book is?
A Month of Sundays.
Okay. But you mentioned something about low volume fabric. And I'm like going, okay, that's a new expression for me.
It is, and I think it's a new expression for a lot of people. The term low volume comes from, I think it's the fabric designer Malka Dabrowski. Actually, she designs very intense, saturated hand dyes, and then a fabric lines based off of those. And she was working one day with much lighter prints with a white base and a some graphic element. They weren't the white on whites and the beige on beiges. They still had a graphic element to them. But as opposed to those really bright, intense prints that just shout, hey, look at me, they whisper and they're quieter and they beg a little bit more reflection.
So I thought when you told me the expression in our last Skype that it was actually the fiber content.
Mm-hmm.
And no,
it's the pattern on the fabric itself. I can show you a couple of examples if you like.
That'd be great.
Okay, so here we have, I'm just going to show these two fabrics. These are your typical, bright, nice fabrics that we've got. They're gorgeous prints.
I'll take them.
Yeah, well, they're my stash, so I obviously like them. But here's some that we would consider low volume, because they have a white background or a light background. Doesn't have to be white, any sort of in that lighter range. And then they still have a graphic element. This one kind of makes you a little googly-eyed on the screen, but you can pull in some other ones. So this one has a very large-scale print, so when you cut it small, you might only get one little line in it. And what these prints do for you is they provide a little bit of rest for your eye, but I also argue that they provide a little bit of rest for the quilter's soul, because you can't help but feel calmer and more relaxed.
So, right, let's talk about the quilt behind you, because you've got the gray-white area there and then the yellows. I mean, the yellow up above it.
Yeah. And those two are what I would call low-volume blocks. And you can see with that one that's right over my ear here that with that gray and white, that's still a predominantly gray block, but it's got a lot of white in with the grays. And you can see then this dark gray block, which would be sort of your more intense version. So I've got one that shouts and one that's quiet. And when you mix them together, it lets your eye dart around the quilt, and nothing takes over. You have moments of rest, and you have moments of whether you want to call it joy or loudness, but they all work together.
Are they generally then large-scale prints? I mean, is that not necessarily? Yes?
No, not necessarily. I think you can use, excuse me, like tiny little calico type prints, 30s prints that come on, in those wonderful pastel colors. And I think one of the ways to make low volume work most effectively is actually to mix up the scale of the prints, because that's how you get, when everything is light, the way you get value and contrast in your quilt is by mixing up the scale of the print.
I am with you all over it. We don't want it matchy-matchy. And I'm just looking at that unicorn up there in the orange. That's awesome. Whose fabric is that?
That's an old print by Heather Ross, and she has that lovely hand-drawn quality to all of her prints, and I had one tiny little scrap of that unicorn left, and when I sent out the fabric to my bee participants, I love what my friend Lisa did with that.
Great. Well, this has been really fun. I appreciate you letting us talk the other day, and if you've missed that, go back and look at it, you guys. It's a great Skype interview, and you had me stumped with low volume.
Well, hopefully I've dispelled some of the mystery about it, and hopefully it's exciting enough to go pick up the book, A Month of Sundays now. One of the great things in this book is I go into great detail about using low-volume fabrics, but then I also talk about how you can turn up the volume on all the quilt designs and sewing projects in here. So maybe low volume's not your thing, but the designs are still great and can be applied with any fabric.
And again, because you're in Canada, We mentioned this in the other interview, but I'm going to throw it out there. If people want the book signed, you've got a really clever solution because it's so expensive to ship. Please share again.
Absolutely. You can buy the book on sort of your online retailers or your local quilt store, but if you want a signed copy by me and don't want to pay the exorbitant shipping from Canada, you can go online and order a book plate, which is essentially a sticker that I will sign and personalize and pop it in the mail to you for just a couple of bucks.
Do you mind if I copy you?
No, not at all.
Love that. I love that because we are a world community. So listen,
Exactly.
Thank you so much. And you have a very busy life with your children. We discovered that your youngest and my granddaughter born on the same day.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex. Take care.
You too.